Take the money and leave, please. The Swedish government is offering to pay immigrants $34,000 if they go back to their home country.
Since 2013, Sweden's firearm homicide rate has essentially tripled, and in 2022, over 60 people were killed by guns.
On the corner of high-rise flats, police hang their cameras, keeping watch over an area they say is a hotspot for gangsters.
And there is no part of me that wants to move back to Sweden. A summer house? Yes, please. But living there full time? No way.
This is Sweden, a country of over 10 million people that was once hailed as a model of prosperity, equality, and public support. However, this nation is now seeing many young people leave. Despite its free healthcare, high salaries, and progressive policies, which have long contributed to its reputation for quality of life, more and more Swedes are choosing to pack their bags. This shift raises a surprising question. Why, for the first time in decades, are more people leaving the country than arriving? The answer may surprise you. Sweden's immigration situation is becoming increasingly concerning, particularly as young people seek opportunities in other places. In 2024, the country saw record low asylum applications, an unexpected development given the global crisis. Aid agencies attributed this decline to a combination of fear and a surge in far-right rhetoric, which has fostered an unwelcoming atmosphere for refugees and migrants. But you know a country is in trouble when its own people don't want to live there either. With crime rates soaring, poverty getting worse, and unemployment climbing as well, it's clear that Sweden needs to make some serious changes. But is it too late? Today on Across the Globe, we'll be looking at why no one wants to live in Sweden. Sweden's youth are celebrated for their independence and ambition, often leaving home at a notably young age, typically between 18 and 19, far earlier than the EU average of 26. This cultural norm of early independence stands in contrast to trends observed in countries like the United States, where a 2019 report revealed that more young adults were living with their parents than at any time since 1940. And the UK, where a study by the British think tank Civitas documented a rise in the proportion of 23-year-olds still at home from 37% in 1998 to 49% a decade later. While this spirit of independence reflects a strong drive for self-sufficiency and personal growth among young Swedes, it's also sparked an alarming shift towards immigration as many seek new opportunities abroad. So why are they leaving? Simply put, many think Sweden's quality of life has gotten much worse. In 2024, GIS reported that Sweden is facing a national crisis because of its failure to successfully integrate record numbers of immigrants. They noted that the country's reputation has fallen from a welfare state model to a warning example, and foreign-born citizens now account for 20% of the nation's population, with 63% of the population feeling positive towards immigration. It seems it's some of the impacts of immigration that are causing many people to leave. In 2022, Reuters stated that Sweden has failed to integrate the vast numbers of immigrants it has taken in over the past 2 decades, leading to parallel societies. And Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson agreed, saying, "Integration has been too poor at the same time as we have had a large immigration. Society has been too weak. Resources for the police and social services have been too weak." When violent riots left more than 100 police officers injured, Andersson blamed criminals and said both Islam and right-wing extremism had been allowed to fester in Sweden. Lump this in with increasing gang violence, both at the hands of natives and immigrants, and it's easy to see why many Swedish don't feel safe.
They didn't want us to integrate with the Swedish people. They put us in a corner here and we take the lowest possible jobs, either that or we start with the criminal activities.
Yet, if we look at the figures, in Sweden, about 79% of people say that they feel safe walking alone at night, more than the OECD average of 74%. So while this is a worry for some, young people seemingly have bigger concerns than crime. The quality of life in Sweden has been increasingly challenged by a significant rise in the cost of living, particularly in urban centers like Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö. Stockholm is the most expensive city in Sweden and ranks 26th in Europe. For a family of 4, the estimated total monthly cost is 6,117 euros, while a single person can expect to pay around 2,448 euros per month. Compare this to Berlin in Germany, and Berlin's total monthly cost for a single person is 2,277 euros, making the monthly cost of living in Stockholm 171 euros higher than in Berlin. And buying a home is rather difficult in Sweden too. 2022. In 2017, just under 57% of Sweden's young people had their own home through either owning the property or through a first-hand rental contract from the owner of the building. Housing prices have been soaring for decades now, with a staggering increase since 1995, where house prices have more than tripled relative to consumer prices. During Sweden's recent housing boom from 2012 to 2021, property values surged by nearly 90%, which, when adjusted for inflation, translates to a 70.8% increase. This has made it a lot more difficult for young Swedes to afford rent or achieve home ownership, compelling many to consider relocating abroad in search of more affordable living conditions. Even without the surge in housing prices, many Swedes find it increasingly challenging to afford a home due to the overall rise in the cost of living.
Even with a good salary, finding an apartment that is both affordable and available can feel like winning the lottery.
Although salaries are still relatively high, rising inflation and soaring prices have greatly weakened purchasing power. Notably, Sweden does not have a statutory minimum wage, relying instead on collective bargaining agreements that can leave some workers without fair pay. Everyday expenses have surged dramatically. A simple grocery run now costs 30 to 40% more than it did just a few years ago. In 2023, the majority of basic living costs, from food and petrol to public transport and even entertainment subscriptions like Netflix and gym memberships, saw considerable increases. By 2024, Sweden was ranked as the 14th most expensive country to live in Europe, highlighting the pressure on residents, particularly young people, who aspire to attain financial independence and secure stable housing amidst these rising costs. Without the opportunity for stable housing, it's easy to see why younger people are feeling pushed out. In cities like Stockholm, the dream of obtaining a stable home seems far away, as the waiting lists for rental apartments can extend up to 20 years, and many who reach the front of the queue are in their 50s and own a home. In 2015, nearly half of all Stockholmers, about 500,000 people, were in this queue. By 2023, this had jumped up to 810,000 people. Coupled with rising mortgage rates, which have rendered home ownership nearly impossible for many young Swedes, it's fair to say that the situation is dire. So, as many young people grapple with the sky-high living costs and limited housing options, the prospect of building a future in their home country becomes increasingly bleak, prompting a sense of urgency to seek opportunities elsewhere. A total of 86,400 people moved away from Sweden in 2024, an increase of 13,000, or 18%, in 2023. This exodus not only threatens to disrupt the demographic balance in urban areas, but may also have long-term implications for Sweden's economy and social fabric. But many may be thinking, well, people should seek to earn more money or work harder for that promotion or pay raise. But it may not be so simple. Young professionals are slowly being pushed out too. Sweden's progressive tax system takes up a significant portion of income, even for middle-class earners. Scandinavian countries are renowned for their extensive social safety nets and public funding of services, including universal healthcare, higher education, and generous parental leave, alongside comprehensive child and elderly care. However, good public services cost a lot of money, so the government needs to collect high taxes to pay for them. This led to growing concerns among many Swedes in 2021, as their country's tax-to-GDP ratio reached 42.6%, reflecting an increase in taxes alongside Denmark's 46.9% and Norway's 42.2%. To put that into perspective, the United States reported a tax-to-GDP ratio of only 24.5%. Long holding a global reputation for championing high taxes and social equality, in recent years, Sweden has emerged as a European hotspot for the super rich. While those in the middle and upper classes may thrive, many in the lower income brackets face significant struggles to make ends meet, despite maintaining a relatively low poverty rate compared to many other nations. Evidence suggests that poverty and inequality are on the rise, with a growing proportion of the population now at risk of poverty or social exclusion. And while Sweden has never really been classed as a country with unemployment issues, this is changing. The unemployment rate has been increasing since 2018, reaching nearly 9% in 2021 following the pandemic in 2020. In 2023, it stood at 7.7%. As of 2025, Sweden's unemployment rate rose to 9.4% in February from 8.5% in the same month of the previous year, meaning many more people are struggling than you would think. In 2022, The Guardian highlighted the strain that fast-rising electricity bills and surging food price inflation have placed on households, with social entrepreneur Johan Rindeval stating, "Sweden also has a poverty problem. We may not talk about it much, but it's there, and it's absolutely got worse this year." Sweden's tax-heavy economy is increasingly seen as a barrier to financial growth for young people, which is surely only making matters worse. The comparatively fewer promotions and pay raises available within Swedish companies further diminish the appeal of remaining in a system where high taxes can overshadow salary growth. As a result, a significant number of young professionals are seeking better prospects abroad, raising concerns about the country's talent drain. And as we mentioned, the government's recent decision to offer financial incentives for immigrants to leave, amidst the backdrop of a shrinking population, has sparked criticism and confusion. With many questioning the rationale behind such policies, there is a growing sentiment that Sweden must reassess its economic framework to maintain its youth and bolster future growth. But will they do so? Or is it too late? Well, more and more people are leaving each year, and this cannot be denied. Immigration fell by 15% year on year during the early part of 2024 due to a crackdown. And during this period, more people left the country than entered it. This raises the question, where are they going? In 2022, almost 700,000 Swedes lived abroad, up from 660,000 in 2015, a rise of 6%. Between January and June 2024, according to Statistics Sweden, 1,118 foreign-born people moved from Sweden to Germany. According to the local Europe, many of these people were seeking higher salaries, more flexible permits, and a stronger currency. The UK also has a large number of Swedish immigrants.
But the salaries in the UK are often twice of what you get in Sweden.
By 2021, there were approximately 45,000 Swedish nationals residing in the United Kingdom, an increase from the 25,000 Swedish nationals residing in the country in 2008. Much like Germany, the UK offers a lower tax burden compared to Sweden, making it an attractive destination for young professionals seeking to advance their careers. The UK's tax system, which typically imposes lower income tax rates than Sweden's, allows individuals to retain more of their earnings. Additionally, the UK has experienced a growing job market, particularly in sectors such as technology, finance, and creative industries, which appeal to many young professionals. By moving to such countries, Swedes undoubtedly have more passive income. In conclusion, it's evident that it's the younger generation in Sweden who are facing the most significant challenges. Of course, amid the growing concerns of crime and social unrest, everyone is affected. But when it comes to feeling financially comfortable, the younger generations are on shaky grounds. The youth urgently need to feel valued through enhanced career opportunities and the possibility of home ownership. If Sweden continues to lose its young talent to immigration in search of better prospects, the long-term consequences could be dire. A diminished workforce and a brain drain could stifle innovation, economic growth, and the energy that young people bring to a society. Therefore, investing in the future of Sweden's youth is not only essential for their well-being, but it's also critical for the nation's sustainable development and prosperity. The choices made today will shape the future landscape of the country, and it's imperative that Sweden prioritizes the needs and aspirations of its younger generations. What about why living in Japan has become impossible?